استقيموا استقيموا اعتدلوا. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. واتل عليهم نبأ إبراهيم إذ قال لأبيه وقومه ما تعبدون قالوا نعبد أصناما فنظل لها عاكفين قال هل يسمعونكم إذ تدعون أو ينفعونكم أو يضرون قالوا بل وجدنا آباءنا كذلك يفعلون قال أفرأيتم ما كنتم تعبدون أنتم وآباؤكم الأقدمون فإنهم عدو لي إلا رب العالمين الذي خلقني فهو يهدين. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان الله. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. الذي خلقني فهو يهدين والذي هو يطعمني ويسقين وإذا مرضت فهو يشفين والذي يميتني ثم يحيين والذي أطمع أن يغفر لي خطيئتي يوم الدين رب هب لي حكما وألحقني بالصالحين واجعل لي لسان صدق في الآخرين واجعلني من ورثة جنة النعيم واغفر لأبي إنه كان من الضالين ولا تخزني يوم يبعثون يوم لا ينفع مال ولا بنون إلا من أتى الله بقلب سليم. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. تحيات لله والصلوات ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليكم وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So on November 21st, not this coming Sunday, but Sunday following Sunday, inshallah, we're going to have a very good health fair in MP1. We're going to have dietitian there, CPR classes, so if you really know how to do a good CPR, it's life-saving procedure. Blood pressure management and vaccines, and a lot more, inshallah. So it's between 12 and 3. So please let your friends know, family know. It's going to be a great event where we can learn a lot of things about healthcare, inshallah, and it's going to be beneficial. So please let your friends and family know.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما، اللهم آمين. So I pray that you are all in a beautiful state, in a blessed state. I ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala purify our hearts and cleanse us of all that is holding us back from our potential, from our best selves. So inshallah ta'ala, today I wanted to build up on the topic we talked about yesterday as well. But I wanted to use a hadith from the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, which is mentioned in Sahih Muslim. It's a beautiful hadith, and then reflect on it a few points. And so, as narrated in Sahih Muslim, and the Sahabi that narrates it is Wabisa Ibn Ma'bad radiyallahu anhu or anha. And so the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, someone comes to him and the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam anticipates their arrival and their question. And he says, Ji'ta tas'al an al-birr. He said, you came to ask about birr. And so he tells him, al-birr, and there's a few different riwayat, as we always mention. Al-birr, husnul khuluq. In one riwayah he says, piety or righteousness is excellence in character. And in another narration, he says, Ma atma'anna an-nafs. He says, that which the nafs feels peace with. And then he follows and says, Ma atma'anna al-qalb. So he says, he mentions both the nafs and the qalb. And in the first riwayah, he says, Husn al-khuluq. So he says, excellence in character, that which the nafs feels at peace with and that which the qalb feels at peace with. And so this is an interesting concept, right? So number one, he is not defining concepts outside of the human being. He's defining them subjectively. What is birr? It's that which your heart feels good with, that which your nafs feels good with. Now, he says, wal ithm. And sin is, right? He says, ma haka fi sadrik. He said, that which disturbs your heart. So he didn't say sin is drinking alcohol or eating pork or killing or lying or stealing. He said that which wavers and disturbs the heart. And so what we learn here from the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is that he's not interested in just giving people the answer. He's more interested in developing the heart and the mind that feels morality, that has a sense of deep moral obligation and a sense, and as we could say, an alignment with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so this is, especially when we talk about, in community, with youth, etc., there's so much focus on the answers. And if the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, subhanAllah, some people today, they use the word haram more than the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam used it. SubhanAllah, and he has total agency to use it. He has complete freedom to use it. But this word was not in his vocabulary the way that people use it today. He said, you know what ithm is? What disturbs your heart. And then he says, وَلَوْ أَفْتَاكَ النَّاسِ. He said, and even if the people give you fatwa, he said, even if you go to someone and they say this thing is halal and it's disturbing your heart, for you it is ithm. For you it is sin. So how does this make sense? Can the haram and the halal change from person to person? No. What's haram is haram. Doesn't matter from person to person. But here, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is not talking about the law. He's talking about suluk, traveling to Allah, right? And so Allah, by placing that feeling in your heart, He's calling you to a different level of consciousness, right? Whereas He may be calling someone to a different place. And so if Allah calls you to say, eat the most premium, hand-slaughtered, go to the farm and slaughter it yourself, and nothing else makes your heart feel okay, then that's for you. But that does not mean you go and tell everyone, right? For me, unless I go and do it with my hand, I feel it's haram. So then you run around the community and start telling everyone that this is the only way to do stuff, right? So people mistake fiqh, right? They mistake the jurisprudence of Islam with personal fiqh. There's a personal fiqh, right? And so someone says, I don't like all music. It just makes my heart feel disturbed. That is not a evidence for whether music is halal or haram. It means Allah is calling you to something. But for other people, it may feel fine to them. In fact, it might even bring them closer to Allah. And if you look at the fiqh tradition, you will find over 20 opinions on music. Right? So just because you feel a way about this subject, now that means that everyone has to bow down to your feeling. That's not how it works, right? And so this is what the Prophet Muhammad is kind of pushing us towards, is this idea of recognizing that there is a bare minimum, there is a ceiling, and then between that, there is you, right? And you might be aspiring in some places, and you might be struggling in other places, and different people are on that map somewhere too, right? So when the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ even tells the Sahabi, "Istafti qalbak," ask your heart, he's calling him to his path. And that's not your path, that's not my path, necessarily, right? And inshallah ta'ala, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to give ourselves space and to give other people space to develop within the tradition, right? And of course, everything which I said has nothing to do with that which we know to be clear. And that which we know to be clearly haram is explicitly haram. That which we know to be clearly halal, which is most things, right? And all that is in between, right? But I'm talking about here the different lifestyles and different choices within the tradition, the gray areas, things like those matters, inshallah ta'ala. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless us and our families and to give us clarity in our path towards Him. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallim. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun ala al-mursaleen walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Barakallahu feekum wa assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.